everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 9 of Chainsaw Man. So last episode was the rule of 8. It did not let down at all. We went from 0 to 60 in about 2 seconds, and there could be a lot of people dead. Could not be. Could be that Aki is in a really bad place. Could be that they get out. Power seems totally fine, so maybe she can just, put Denji in one arm, Aki in the other, and be like, okay, skedaddle out of here. But there is this snake devil girl that seems like she's perfectly unscathed. Nobody's even touched her. The sword devil is, or my brother, all he said was, I was like, oh, so I watched episode 8, and he was like, oh, the Katana Devil. And I was like, what? And I was like, and he was like, I'm not going to say any more. So maybe it's Katana Devil, Sword Devil, Blade Devil. I mean, katana makes sense because it's literally a sword. So that's all he said. And then he was like, crap. And I was like, it's fine. I mean, katana and sword. I was calling him the Blade Devil, but that's pretty much it. And I'm probably still going to call him the Blade Devil till we hear a different confirmation. But, so yeah, that whole matchup was crazy. And Himeno's dead. And Maki apparently is dead until proven otherwise. Denji's been shot in the head, but I think he's okay. I think that chainsaw blade might have been there to bounce something off there. But yeah, I have lots of comments from episodes 7 and 8, and so I want to address those. But Tuesdays are the one day a week that I absolutely stay off of social media, at least right now, because I don't get on Twitter. I don't get on the Discord much. I know that we have a Discord channel for Chainsaw Man, and everybody's super respectful, and they black box everything, but I don't get on there hardly at all on Tuesdays. I'm like, no, I'm just going to let it ride. Because I don't want to get anything, right? I don't want to see emojis, nothing. I don't want to see people do. Imagine if you'd seen like a bunch of throw up emojis and then you watched episode 7, you're like, ah. So I usually stay away from it. But so Tuesdays, so I'm going into this episode knowing absolutely nothing. I've stayed off social media all day. I've been so excited. I was like, as soon as I sit down, when I get home from work, I'm going to watch the episode. And here we are. So before we get started, though, I do have a couple comments that I do want to address. And real quick, because there was a couple comments that were talking about the manga. There's a few things for the manga I'm going to mention these comments, and I realized I haven't really talked about that much, but I've talked about it in the Discord, and that's about it. But I don't really want to know anything regarding the manga, just because it can lead to spoilers, and I'm trying to be super careful, especially with this series, because it seems to be getting out really easily with spoilers. So please don't mention anything from the manga. I don't want to know. It's fine. If I need to know anything pressing, I'll go ask my brother because he's read the manga and he knows he won't spoil me. So with that being said, Alicia Coley talks about in the manga, and I was like, I needed to say this as soon as they commented. I was like, I'm going to say something about this in the next episode just to clarify. But they did say in the manga that Aki puts his hair in a ponytail and sometimes the fox devil eats it. That kind of reminds me of Calcifer off Howl's Moving Castle, where Sophie cuts a piece of her braid off and feeds it to him. He's like, nah. Seems kind of like it. And he was kind of a demon too, so that makes sense. But other than that, please no manga comments. We're just going to keep it off. Because one person, I've had it spoiled in another series where somebody was like, oh, I don't think this is a spoiler. And then it's a spoiler. So just to be safe, we're not going to do any of those. Some dude said that the blonde girl is kind of like Medusa off of Soul Eater, but also could be also has and similarly to Medusa from Soul Eater, has a companion that has a blade-like weapon. And I was like, oh yeah, so I wonder if Fujimoto was influenced by Soul Eater. Maybe, possibly, we're not sure. Someone else also said that the snake girl looks kind of like Kinma, who's a setter for Haikyuu. It's like with the bleach with the hair that's sticking out. I'm like, yeah, she has the red for Nekama on too. Like you do. It's fun. Ray Quiggs brought up a really cool thing that back in episode 1, the Yakuza told Denji that they were willing to make deals with the devil for power. And we know that their deal with the zombie devil kind of went south, which honestly, if you make a deal or a contract with the zombie devil, seems like it'd be kind of case in point. But it could be that this guy that becomes the Blade Devil or Katana Devil or whatever made a deal with just the right devil instead of the wrong one. Like his grandpa and the other Yakuza made the wrong deal and this guy made the right deal. It's like, oof. So that's interesting. He just found the right devil to work with. How about that? Also thought this was interesting too that Audric points out that Himeno maybe could have lived. And I don't know, that was a shot to the chest. But then the snake girl says that the shirts keep them decent. But I'm like, I still think she was going to die. She was coughing up blood and she looked down her hand and saw she was coughing up blood. I don't know. Maybe Himeno could have saved her, sure. But the point was that she chose to risk it all to save Aki anyway. She could have saved herself, possibly by using power, but she chose to sacrifice herself for Aki anyway. And I thought that was pretty interesting. So thank you, Audric, for that. Shizune points out that, yeah, the snake girl could be related to Negama Setter Kima. I thought that was hilarious. And then also I thought of Hiyori from Bleach because she just has that kind of like just kind of grouchy demeanor to her. That's what I thought. But yeah, Shizune and some dude making the references to our blonde girl. I thought that was interesting. Christopher Peterson, a really good point here that it could be very convenient, it seems, that the attack took place when Makima left. I was like, yeah, it is very convenient that the attack took place after Makima was out of the city, just, according to plan. Very curious indeed, like someone knows something from the inside and new intel. So that raised a whole host of questions up on how they figured all this out. So maybe we'll find out more with that. And then, is the Fox Devil gone? What about the Ghost Devil? I think the Ghost Devil's dead. I think the Ghost Devil got nixed by Hebi, the Snake Devil. But as far as the Fox one, I don't know. I don't know if it's like Denji and Pachita where they get sliced and then they kind of go back, or if it's like something like Jujutsu Kaisen where the spirit, once they're destroyed, they're gone forever. I don't think that Aki's going to die. I don't think he is. I think he's one of the main trio. He's going to stay in this story for at least a while. And so I don't think that Aki's going to die. He has the nail. He has the sword he could use as a weapon if the Fox Devil is no longer a thing. But the one thing that makes me think the Fox Devil might be living is that we'll talk about that in a second, has all these contracts with other hunters. So just getting one part of it destroyed by a fiend or whatever means the other parts are still there. It's kind of like you can cut off a little piece of the snake, but unless you cut off the head, which this was the head. So it'll be interesting to see if the Fox Devil's really gone. I don't think it will be, but if it is, I guess I won't be surprised. So that's something to think about. Sunflower. I really thought this was good. Sunflower. Fushi reacts to the death of their colleague emotionlessly, which connects back to why Himeno is so fascinated by the fact that Aki still cries for the deaths of others. Because yeah, Fushi is a great example in episode 7 of characters being just desensitized and disillusioned to death and destruction, but Aki still has that soul to him. He still has his heart and emotions even after everything he's dealt with, and Himeno really, really likes that about him. So I thought that was interesting. Sam Mala thought, isn't it ironic that in the world of devils and all this crazy batshit stuff, the scariest thing in the last episode was the fact that people were getting attacked by guns. That is such a statement. Like, you have all these fantastical creatures, but I think it's the fact that the gun is something built into reality, and that adds a weight of chill to it. And it's like, yeah, that's amazing. Also, apparently in the manga, and this part is fine because I actually asked in the last episode, I asked that people in the Discord show the manga scenes, and everybody in the Discord was like, okay, you really want to see this? And I was like, I just want to see the part where it's the end of episode 7 into episode 8, like when Himeno brings Denji home. I want to see what that looks like in the manga. So some people were really nice, and they shared those images. And yeah, in the manga, it's pretty much like the end of episode 7 is pretty much how it is in the manga. And the episode 8 perspective is kind of anime only added in. But I like what Sam Mala said about the fact that what we get in episode 8 from Himeno's perspective, it adds this really cool contrast that Sam was talking about, where you have, when we see Aki out on the porch, it's him in the daytime and he's put together and well organized and tedious and he has a routine, whereas with Himeno we see her at night instead of the day, and she's fragile and sloppy and nothing's quite the same, and it's all kind of all over the place. So there's this really cool contrast between Himeno and Aki and their day-to-day routines, him representing the day and her representing the night. I thought that was really cool. I loved that. His comment on episode 8 is really good. You should go check it out. But yeah, and then Max Matos had some really cool comments from episode 6. I love the idea in episode 6, the idea of a cigarette being a metaphor for a toxic codependency. Because yeah, even though I was kind of shipping Himeno and Aki and I wanted them to get together, their relationship is kind of toxic. And I like the way that Max describes it, this idea that Himeno, she doesn't want Aki to stop smoking because then he won't want to be with her anymore. He won't need to be with her anymore for the social aspect of it. And then Aki, he seems to care for her, so he keeps on smoking to, kind of appease her, but it's like a mutually assured destruction. I like the way that you phrase that, Max. And so now that Himeno's gone, Will Aki stop smoking? Well, in the ED for episode 8, it shows him leaving the cigarettes behind with the flowers. So maybe Aki is going to quit. Maybe he's going to quit now that he doesn't have anybody to smoke with. Because I don't think Denji's going to smoke, and I don't see Power smoking. He should be like, "'Tis foul for thy body." That's exactly what Power would say. So maybe that's right. And then Max also commented that Denji could possibly have complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or CPTSD, where someone is able to forget their fear because they've been surrounded by it for so long. Yeah, Denji has had to fight so much since he was a kid for his own life, and he's had to deal with having organs removed. He's had to deal with killing these scary, terrifying devils to get money to live, from having the fear of not eating and going through all the motions. Denji's been afraid. He's had to deal with these different fears his whole life and either move past them and no longer be afraid, or die to the point where he's just really not affected or afraid of anything anymore. And that's terrifying and really sad, but it may be the only thing really helping him as well. So it's interesting, right? And then Himeno, whereas Himeno runs away from her fears by relying on others, Denji just faces it head on because that's all he knows. So I thought that was pretty cool, Max. Thank you for commenting on that. Jimmy Russell noted that director Ryu Nakayama wanted the anime for Chainsaw Man to be taken more seriously and to be viewed as a serious, respectable work, whereas Fujimoto has said that they kind of want it to be like Fooly Cooly and be sort of kind of experimental and seeing how far he can push the bars. Yeah, I totally get that. I think that they both kind of got to eat. I think both of them have gotten to have their cake and eat it too, because you have Nakayama, who's getting this series to be taken seriously by how much MAP is dedicated to the animation, the soundtrack, the people working on the ED. You have just the voice acting, everything has come together to make this very respectable, serious series that's about a boy that wants to grab boobs and has a chainsaw heart, right? So it's Fujimoto being like, hey, I'm going to have fun with this and go crazy and see what I can get away with. Can we just make it look really badass and awesome? And that's literally Chainsaw Man. And that's what I love about it. From reading Fujimoto's one-shots, I know from those 3 that I cried my eyes out at, that he is very capable of hitting emotional beats and just getting the right chord and telling really super tight narratives. Fujimoto's a good writer. He's good with emotions. So knowing that going into this and just seeing him have fun and seeing what he can get away with, it's interesting, and I like it quite a bit. But yeah. And then non-binary Jut Lung talked about how we were talking about Neon Genesis Evangelion and Chainsaw Man, and the kind of everybody's making the comparisons of Himeno and Masato, and I feel like we've covered that. But what I do like about the series, and Fujimoto really loves Neon Genesis, is the idea of fan service. And just like with the OG series from Neon Genesis, what I love is that Chainsaw Man, now sadly some people have missed the mark and have not gotten what Fujimoto is trying to say, which is sad, but that happened with Neon Genesis too. But what Fujimoto is trying to say is that we are not supposed to root for Denji to have these fan service experiences. They're meant to make us feel uncomfortable because they're not comfortable and they're supposed to be disturbing, and that's kind of the point. And so I really like that. I like that Fujimoto takes something that normally you'd be like, oh yeah, go Denji, and then be like, no, Denji, get away from her. Instead, you don't need to do that. Yes, save yourself from Makima. Sure, go ahead. Don't do this. And so I like that it's kind of set up that way. I like that it makes you feel uncomfortable, and it's very interesting. Non-binary Lung also said that kitsune, like the fox devil, are often represented in Japanese culture in a female form that is trying to seduce men, which kind of ties into the fact that she has all these contracts with various hunters, and the ones we know so far are men. Now, someone commented that in the manga, the fox devil doesn't have a gender. I've heard the Discord just say she, so that's what I've been going with, but I can say they. It's fine. The fox devil, them, they, them, we're good. And then finally from non-binary Jitlung, the reference sheets apparently for Aki's apartment when they were unveiling like reference sheets of what things were going to look like, labeled it as the Hayakawa residence, meaning a family lives there. Meaning that Aki has taken in strays, Denji, and Power off the streets and taken them in as his own, which is friggin' precious. And then finally, Alexander Q stated that is it the blood loss that makes Denji crazy or drinking the blood of the devils? And I was like, I really don't know, because I was trying to think back with the Leech Devil. It might be blood loss, because with the Leech Devil, Denji didn't really drink its blood. He drank the blood of the bat, but that wasn't really it. The blood loss is what he had suffered from, and he still had went into like crazy mode. So maybe it is the blood loss makes Denji kind of go into like crazy town mode. I don't know. And then finally, the idea that Denji has all these goals. He started out, we were talking about this in the comments, he was started out wanting to just be near someone, just be near a girl, play video games, and have her fall asleep beside him. Like, that's all he wanted. It was so simple. And then the more he's gotten to know people and the more he's encountered women, the bigger those goals have become. Like, it's gone from like groping a woman to kissing a woman to now he wants to have sex with Makima. It's not just, I think what we were talking about, Alexander Q and I, is at the end of the day, what Denji really wants is just to be close to someone, to have that companionship. And what I'm thinking is he's going to have to figure out that you can't just go from sitting to running. You've got to get up, you got to crawl, you got to get up, and you got to walk first before you can even think about running. And right now, Denji thinks he can just go from 0 to 60 with nothing in between. And I hope that as he moves forward, he sees, wow, these giant lofty goals I had aren't working out. What if I just tried being a friend with somebody first and then seeing if the relationship came afterwards? We'll see how that goes. So I know this was a long intro, but I do have one more thing, and that is that over on the Discord, on the channel for Chainsaw Man, we were all taking quizzes to see what characters we were. We had a lot of Kobenis in the Discord, which I was like, wow, really? A lot of Kobenis? We had some Akis, had a couple Denjis, but I was surprised. I didn't know what I would get, and it was Crunchyroll's quiz to see what character from Chainsaw Man you were. I was Power, baby! I was like, okay, Power. I think it's because a lot of the answers that I picked had to do with animals. And so it was either going to be Denji or Power. But no, I got Power. I'm like, give me that Nobel Prize. I'll take Power. I'm all for it. I want one of those 76.1 hoodies now. I could cosplay as her. We could do that. Give me a long wig, little devil horns. We can do it. So yeah, I'll get Meowie. Huckleberry can be Meowie. No, he'd be Pachita for sure. So yeah, that's all I got. I hope you all enjoy this reaction discussion, but I've wasted enough time, so I've waited all day for this, y'all, and now we're gonna do it. So we are gonna start episode 9 of Chainsaw Man and just see what happens next. Here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. So maybe instead of the rule of 8 with Chainsaw Man, we should do a rule of 9. What the fudge was this episode? Last episode went 0 to 60 in 1.2. This one was just like, you're already at 60. Just pound the pedal down. Just go 120. What's stopping you now? I think this job might actually drive me nuts. Kobeni! You know what? I hope everybody that made fun of her back in episode 6, I hope they're eating their shorts. Mm-hmm. I wondered last episode if she'd get away because of that secret devil, and it ties back. We still don't know what the devil is. It apparently, maybe her not talking about it makes her super strong when she needs to be. I don't know. She has lots of potential, just like Himeno said. But man, I'm real proud of Kobeni. I'm glad. You know what? I'm sure that the manga readers were really frustrated when episode 6 came out, because I'm sure they were just so frustrated because Kobeni, everybody was like, she's such a wussy. I'm sure all the manga readers were like, just wait. Just hold on. I never hated Kobeni. I thought she was the most realistic person in that whole episode. I was like, nah, it makes sense. But she's got some screws loose too. Girl, Arai was too normal. And he's sacrificed. Here's the thing. I feel like we'll talk about the Fox Devil and we'll talk about Himeno. I feel like she understood Arai and Aki being similar. Like they're almost chivalrous in that they'll sacrifice themselves to save others. And Himeno's like, you're going to get yourself killed that way. And Arai did get himself killed that way. So that's really interesting. But Makima! Yeah! How about that, huh? How about her not being dead? How about her having mysterious powers and trading other people's lives for other things and the dining in Tokyo's to die for, and she could be eating these people. She's possibly a devil herself. Yeah. Okay. I want to make a quick note. I'm just going to put things off to the side here. We're going to make a little note about Makima. Go put her over here. All right, we're going to make a whole little thingy over here with Makima. I have things I want to say, but I want to get to the point in the episode where we talk about them. Himeno, we're going to put Himeno up here. And that Himeno has some kind of contract that gives her, like, it almost seems like extra super special, like, muscle memory, where she's almost able to, like, she's able to move. You know what it reminds me of? This is the weirdest thing. Her ability reminds me of Otasaku from Bungo Stray Dogs, is what it reminds me of. Her ability reminds me of Otasaku. If you don't know who that character is, they're in season 2 of Bungo Stray Dogs. You should watch it. I'm not going to spoil it with you. But they have a power. But Otasaku's ability, I guess it's a spoiler, so Bungo Stray Dogs spoilers for like the next 30 seconds. Otasaku's ability is to see the future. It's called Flawless. He's able to see the future. And so that enables him to move and prevent being hit by an attack. And she almost like, Himeno in this, she got on the snake and everything, but she kind of dodged several attacks and was able to like move like a ninja. And I know that the Blade Devil, he called her like a monkey, but maybe she kind of has a thing like Otasaku where she can kind of like sense things before they happen. Like, I don't know if she can tell the future or anything, but maybe she has like, it's like a super enhanced spider sense, and whatever devil she's made a contract with will let her like see, like be able to sense things before they happen. And so she like moves out of the way, kind of like a future sight, sort of. Maybe. It just, the way that she was dodging attacks reminded me of Otasaku in Bungo Stray Dogs. So I thought that was really curious. So, end of Bungo Stray Dogs spoilers, but I wonder if she has like something that allows her to be able to like sense ahead of time, actions to happen. Okay. So she right now is with Denji's upper half. Okay. I mean, at this point, they said that the main thing was that they said, don't touch the heart. Don't hurt the heart. So ideally, as long as Pochita is okay, Denji will be okay as well. Because now Pochita is fused with Denji's heart, and it's a devil, so it's not exactly the easiest thing to kill, as we see with Makima. So Denji's not good. Things aren't great. Denji's probably in trouble, but he's not, I don't think Denji's like life-threatening. I think he's just down for the count until they find his other half. And they talked about how when he got some devil's blood, he could reconnect his arm back to his body. So all they have to do is power needs to show back up, give him some blood, and he could just reattach his body and start to regenerate everything. So Denji will be fine. I'm a little worried about Aki, because Aki does not seem fine. Aki was bleeding out, so we're going to put Aki right here. I thought we were going to get a lot more with Aki in this episode. I really did. I thought we were going to get a lot more with Aki, and we did not. So he's bleeding out. He is not like Denji, so I really hope that he gets some help, because right now he's kind of in a bad place, right? We'll talk about that. And then Power pieced out. Power's like, nope. Power sensed that things were not going to work out, so she's MIA. So we don't know. I thought that maybe she would go back and help Aki, but maybe, we don't know. She's always been there for Aki, so maybe Power goes back and grabs Denji's lower half and grabs Aki and is like, let's go. I don't know. That's going to be curious to see if that happens. But it's funny, our main trio's like down for the count, so it's like we have to depend on the other characters to kind of step in and become main characters for a moment. Like mainly, this whole episode was Himeno and Makima. I was like, oh my god. Ah! So, yeah, interesting. But yeah, Aki I'm a little bit worried about. I said last episode, I'm like, oh, he'll be fine. And now I'm like, Power, where'd you go? I need you to come back and save Aki, please. So, I don't know. Very curious, very curious. But yeah, we could talk about this episode. I think my jaw was on the floor for a good portion of it. Because what do you even do with an episode like this? Where do you even start? I'm glad that we got a little bit more context for this moment against the Blade Devil, and seeing her and seeing like what's so sad about the start of this episode is that at the last episode when she was actually doing it, it was all like her internal monologue in the moment. It was very like cinematic and it was very beautiful, but it was also kind of like not fast paced, but it was just like one thing was happening after the other, and it was happening during that battle. And here everything kind of slows down and we see it from Aki's perspective. We see her and we see kind of like sort of, it's not cinematic anymore in terms of being fantastical. We actually see what's happening. And I love the fact that in this entire moment, you know, in the last episode, there was this big swell of music and all this animation and it all seemed very fantastical. And here it's so minimalized and it's just the sound of their breathing. And it's so subdued. And it's, again, it's like what we did between episode 6 and between episodes 7 and 8. Now between episodes 8 and 9, we're taking this moment and we're recontextualizing it. And it's, God, poor Aki, like him seeing her die, like he saw her go because he looked at her. He looked right at her when she left him. And she said, and he saw her say to him, "Don't die on me, Aki." And he saw it, oh my God, so that when I die, that you'll cry for me. The fact that it took, and the head disappeared. The fact that the snake took her nail, So let's talk about this. We're gonna put her, she has a name, but I will write it up here. So she has a contract with Hebi, which is the snake devil. And it seems very similar to the fox devil, where she offers a piece of her. I'm sorry, but anytime like they show nails being ripped off, I can't. I'm like, nope. That should have been a sign this was going to be a bad episode, because I was sitting there like, oh my God, I don't want to see it. I want to see people being like smushed. So yeah, but he offers a piece of her. So, and nails grow back. So, you know, it's not something that she's going to lose forever. Yeah, and then the snake, it's all made from the hands, which is interesting. And she says leave, and it just poofs away like smoke. But Aki is bleeding out. Our boy needs some help because he is gonna need a blood transfusion and something, right? And then she says, she like looks over and looks around. She's very distant and cold. She said the fiend ran off. Yeah. Or she's hiding. And she's like, we're after the chainsaw's heart. Don't bother with her. They want Pachita! They want Pachita. Pachita is the one that they're looking for, and it's attached itself to Denji. Okay. Interesting that they don't want to kill Pachita. Again, y'all. Tale as old time. My ship lives on. The Gun Devil wants Pachita for something, whether it's to give it to someone that the Gun Devil's chosen, whether it's to consume it for itself. It wants Pachita. So we've got that. So that is the MacGuffin that is keeping Denji alive, is the fact that they need the heart, right? And it's attached itself to Denji. But Himeno, from beyond the grave, takes the ghost hand, and in its last moment, right, ripcords the chainsaw, and then Denji wakes up. So yeah, it fires him back to life, right? It's great. And he says, you guys look like bad guys. He's like, you guys, I can tell instantly. And he says, I love bad guys because nobody gives a shit when I carve them up. Yeah, nobody gets mad at me for fighting the bad guys, right? Curious. And he's like, I get to kill you a second time. And so then the two of them, like, it just feels like a shonen battle, right? Where they just fight each other and they just do the epic pose there right before the OP. Oh my gosh. As they go down there. Really? And yeah. I just love that the girl, she's just like, really? And then Aki's like, what do I do? Himeno's gone. Oh my gosh. And then that's the money shot. The money shot of those two against each other, which is not the craziest shot in this entire episode. You think this episode was just like, Denji's awake. Oh, you think we can't top Himeno dying? Well, now Denji's awake. Oh, you think we can't top Denji versus the Blade Devil? Oh, well, Makima's not dead. Oh, you don't think we can top that? Oh, well, she's actually going to sacrifice these guys to kill all these other guys. Oh, you don't think we can top that? Well, Himeno, Kobeni is actually a badass. It's just like, it just kept escalating. It was like, you think this, and then this, and then this, and then this. It's just to see Fujimoto's like, how far can I push this episode, and how crazy can we get? Oh. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing. Okay. So going back to this episode, we have Chainsaw Man. We get this girl's name. We get Snake Woman's name. What is it? She's looking at her nail. She has the radio in her hand, right? And she pulls it up and says Sawatari. So her name is Sawatari. All right. Of course they escape. They're going to be the two antagonists that get away. Of course they are, to live to fight another day. She's curious. I'm very interested in her and seeing what all... And she has the red eyes like she's attached with the Snake Devil. So that's curious. Her eyes don't look human anymore. So I'm wondering... She's interesting because, yeah, her eyes are no longer human. But she doesn't seem like a fiend. She's not a fiend. So I'm curious to know, like, what is the deal? Are there, like, hybrids between human and devil? Because we get the sense that that's the case with Denji. We get the sense that's the case with the sword devil. So, and whereas with Makima, she seems more like a devil herself or a fiend. Seems more like a fiend. But because she has the crazy yellow eyes like Power does. Yeah. And then poor Aki, he's just facing off with, he's just sitting there, Denji has to do this. And Denji, so the thing is, Denji, they bring up the guys with the guns, right? And he says, aim for the arms or the heart. Now, the guy with the sword, he tells them to aim for the heart, but she said to spare the heart. So I'm like, were they just trying to, like, I guess they were trying to, if they hit the heart with the gun, if they shot him in the heart, it might not kill him because it's Pachita, but it would like knock him out or incapacitate him. I'm guessing that's what we're doing. But yeah, that's what he says for them to do. And Denji, he like, if you'll notice, Denji does not kill any of those guys. He knocks them out. He makes a point to knock them unconscious, but he doesn't take his chainsaws and cut through any of them. The only ones he's attacked with the chainsaws have been devils. So that's interesting. That's interesting that Denji makes a point that if they are human still, he doesn't kill them. But if they've made a contract with the devil, or if they are like him and they're part devil themselves, then he's like, okay, no, you're a bit on a different level, so I've got to hurt you. Okay. And he even brings that one guy. He tells the one bad guy, he's like, hey, bad guy, he's one of your buddies, right? And he makes a comment saying, he's like, what's your point? And he's like, and I love these, since they're like, he's like, if you move a millimeter, he's like, I'll make ground beef out of him. I love that he like takes the tongue and does the Jabba the Hutt thing to that guy's face. He like licks it like Jabba the Hutt on Princess Leia. Blech. Yeah, it's like, oh my God. And then I love that he calls him an asshole. He's like, you asshole. But he calls him an asshole because, I mean, he doesn't care about that guy. He's going to kill both of them. He's like, really? You're going to lump me in like that? But the moment he crouches down, that's like his special move. And it's like, maybe you should have moved, Denji. And then, because yeah, Denji doesn't know. He's like, that's right, sit your ass down. I was like, no, Denji, this is really bad. That's how he got Aki. Like, no. Want to make note. He cut Aki, and it did not cut through him all the way. So, Maybe he wasn't trying as hard. Maybe he wasn't trying to cut. He knew that Denji needed to be taken out. Otherwise, it wasn't going to work. So I guess that was the case. But God, I can't believe that he just chopped right through him. And he just grabs his upper half. So his lower half's still up there on the roof. And that one guy's like, okay, I'll go get the car. And then he says that all of Chainsaw's people should be dead. Okay. So he said all of them should be dead. Okay. So they think that Aki's dead. Well, I don't think Aki's dead, but ugh. And then his thing melts away. The sword and everything, it is a katana, and it melts the same way that the devil did off of Denji. Ugh. I guess devil hunters are still human, meaning they can't win against guns. So, let's take a moment and talk about the gun devil. So, the gun devil. The gun devil somehow has this influence over people with guns. It can kill many in a moment. Why does it need Pochita? It seems like it's pretty strong on its own. It seems like it's pretty strong on its own. It was doing real good when it killed like 500,000 people in 2 minutes. So why isn't it this big? I mean, it is a big threat and people are trying to destroy it, but why hasn't it taken over the world if it's that strong? I'm going to guess that whatever it does, whether the person that has the gun devil is tied to a contract, or if the gun devil itself, if there's a giant price to be paid when you use it, so when it uses its abilities, I'm going to guess that there has to be some kind of fail-safe in there that keeps it from just being the most OP and most unstoppable, because otherwise it would have destroyed the world by now. So there's some price to pay to use its power, and that's what's keeping it from doing all that it can do. But for some reason it wants Pochita. So maybe, I mean, I don't know if it's a devil that needs like Makima's power, it needs a sacrifice. You have to sacrifice something to give it its power. Maybe it wants to like get a big sacrifice like Pochita's heart, and that's going to power it for a long time. Oh, but it does. Why does it need no Pochita? For some reason it does. We don't know what it looks like. Don't know. I don't know. I'm imagining like you have the Katana Devil that has katanas coming out of its head. I just imagine somebody has like a giant gun coming out of its head and arms, like Denji and them, right? But he makes a point. The Sword Devil makes a point that devil hunters are humans. And because of that, he says that they cannot win against guns. So he's saying we're still human. So clearly he's become this devil to try, maybe he's become, see, here's the thing that's interesting is that they're supposedly working for the gun devil. But he makes the comment saying that I'm still human still, so I can't win against it. So is he like on a revenge war path too, trying to avenge and go against the gun devil, and Denji's just a step along the way? But he's realized that as long as he's human, he can't defeat it. So we're setting up this idea that you have to be an utmost monster to stop the gun devil, apparently. And you know, it'd be funny if Makima and the gun devil were like, if she was like in a relationship with the gun devil, and then she's like, I kind of want out of it, and I'll be with Denji. Denji, if you get rid of the gun devil and you like help me get a divorce from him, we'll totally get together. Because I'm this whole time looking at what Makima can do and her contract, I'm like, why is she not facing the gun devil? She seems like she has a pretty damn good strong power. Why wouldn't she face him? I mean, there's a limitation apparently with her power, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. But she seems pretty OP herself. But her powers seem to have pretty big limits. So, we'll talk about that. But interestingly enough, there's this concept that's being set up where you have to be a monster or a devil yourself to destroy the gun devil. And maybe they're afraid that Denji has the potential to become that. And so they're like, we need to get rid of him now, or we need to take Pachita to the Gun Devil so that nobody else can get a hold of him. There's a lot of mystery with the Gun Devil, and I'm super excited to learn more as we go. And I'm sure we only have 3 episodes left this season. We're not going to figure it all out this season. Nah, they're going to have a season 2. But there's lots of things with the Gun Devil that I'm curious about that I'm like, okay, what now? What are we going to find out? So I'm going to be curious what we get between now and then, between now and the end of the season, but we're not going to figure everything out. No. So yeah, that close-up of his face was kind of weird, though. I'm not going to lie. So yeah, they go. We see Arai. Arai's dead. Which is super sad. R.I.P. Arai. But the moment I didn't see a Kobeni, I'm like, oh, she made it out. But the one girl that was hitting on everybody at the bar, like, her brain matter is on the ground. The fudge. What? And then Jushi. Fushi, whatever his name, Fushi and the one guy that were at the bar too, they're both dead. The smart guy with 134 IQ, we met them for 2 seconds. They're already dead. Now, that begs the question, again, talk about Fushi being dead. What about the fiend that Fushi's with? Fushi's fiend, okay? They said, the one guy said that most of the non-humans are still alive. So, that means that we have Fushi's fiend. I am still thinking that Fushi's fiend is the angel. Okay? What if, just hypothetically thinking out loud, I don't want spoilers to tell me whether I'm right or wrong. What if Fushi's fiend, what if they were the angel? And what if they went to go live in Aki Hayazawa's home for wayward children? I mean, really? Because they just said at the end of the episode that the Division 4... Of course it's Division 4, because 4 is tied with death in Japanese culture. Division 4 is all merged from the other divisions 1 through 4. So they're all merged together. So if the angel was the fiend, what if they went to live with Power and Denji? Why not? It would make a lot of sense, because then you'd have a household where you have Denji and Aki, who are seemingly polar opposites, and then you'd have on the other spectrum these 2 fiends. One is Power, who has the devil horns, who's like a devil, and one is the angel. Opposites in the same house. And what if the angel, whereas Power is like loud and abrasive and like, "'Tis this," what if the angel devil's like, "Hey, what's up?" Like super quiet. That could be a fun dynamic. We see the angel by itself on the stairs, which has like, gives you an image and a sense of isolation and loneliness, right? Because Power's never shown really by itself in the OP. Power's always by like with other people, like hanging out, having a good time. But the angel's always by itself. So maybe even in the row of the movie theater, the angel is sitting by itself behind Himeno and them. So yeah, maybe it does join Aki's home of wayward fiends and devils. I just want Aki to have like an adoption agency, and he just adopts all the fiends. And he's like, I guess I'll take you guys in. So interesting. I'm just saying, they've established Fushi as a fiend that is not with him in this. So I'm thinking that the Fushi's fiend may end up, since it's joining all the divisions, Makima may just be like, Aki, you got this. I trust you more than anybody else. She wasn't lying, right? She might not have been lying. She may have been like, Aki, I do trust you more than everyone else. So you are going to take in all of these fiends because you can handle it. Like, yeah. No, that all makes sense. Nope. I'm fully convinced. I'm ready. I'm ready for it. I'm ready for this angel to join the crew, but we'll see. We'll see if that happens. And then plus you've got the one that's got, and maybe it's not the angel. Maybe the guy that has like the bullet bill, like shark face. Maybe he's the fiend that's Fushi's. Maybe he's going to join the crew, but I don't know. The angel's been kind of built up, and I want to see more of it. Okay, so we need to talk about this. They go through all the dead people. We go to Makima. Makima was shot in the face. But she says, I wasn't shot. Was it somebody else then? Okay, so when on the train, she was shot in the head and chest. Supposedly. That's what we saw, right? That's what we saw. But okay. Yeah, and they just have her brushed, and they, yeah, checking her aside the seat. Yeah, next to the one guy. And everybody, okay. So what's interesting is these guys are like, guns. They're like, we're almost at the station. Let's move through the cars and split up amongst the civvies. So interesting. He says guns. Like they didn't know what they just did. But they were the ones that shot them. Okay, wait. I'm going to go back to that scene. I want to go back to that scene for just a hot second. Okay, so he looks over there and gets up and goes to the guy and says, guns. Okay. And then he says, we're almost at the station. Let's move to the cars and split up amongst the civvies. Okay, so those guys that shot them, they all called each other, he was calling them guns. So, okay, so the people that shot were extensions of the gun devil. And they called themselves the guns. Which is, they're hired guns. They're literally what they are. But yeah, they're extensions of the gun devil. Okay. Because they called everybody else on the train civvies. So they are separating themselves. They are saying they are not civilians. They might not be human. And they are trying to mix in with the normal people to not be noticed and get out. Okay. So he was just checking to make sure they both were dead. And they're like, okay, let's do this. And no one is left on the train. They're all gone. And she's standing there with the blood still on her forehead. And they're like, oh, and he pulled the gun on her. So was it an illusion? Was it an illusion that she made them see? Here's the thing. So then we have, okay, we're going to get these other two. So was it an illusion? She just made them see her and thought that she had been shot in the head. But then when they turned back, all the other people were gone. Like there was nobody on the train car. Was the one guy even there too? Or was he really an agent and he was just like the trigger? He was the trigger to make it work. Like for her illusion. So was it an illusion? Okay. Was it an illusion? Okay. So we get these other two. They're on the scene that have scars that like connect to one another. So it's kind of cool. And then Tendo. And it says Special Divisions 1 through 4 all came under assault in Tokyo. And they're like, what? And they're like, is Miss Makima dead? Have we been wasting our time here? Like, they're just not really concerned. They're just like, you mean we stood at this train station when there's all these people dead? Like, again, screws loose, right? But the two of them, I'm like, they're either siblings or they're a couple. They look kind of similar, but maybe they're a couple. I don't know. But yeah, then the train stops. And the people, of course, are running out because they're like, holy shit. And then out she comes with the blood on her. Now the question is the blood on her hers or is it from the guys? And they're like, what really? And she has not blood on her face anymore. It's just on her clothes. Kurose and Tendo. So Tendo's the girl and Kurose is the guy, or we don't know for sure. Maybe Tendo's non-binary. We don't know. But we have Tendo and Kurose. Who seem like they're Makima's subordinates, and they have like matching scars. Curious. But yeah, she comes out. She has no blood on her face anymore. No. And it's the blood that's on her is not even in the same position as the blood that was on her from the train. So it's from those guys. She's like, there was a shooting on the train. And her eyes are like so soulless. Right? The body's still there, so take care of them. The lunch meeting, I'm not feeling lunch anymore. I'm just not feeling it. And they're like, yeah, there were shots fired in Tokyo. And they're like, Miss Makima, you're covered in blood. Were you hit? And she said, this isn't mine. Yeah, the blood's not mine. I wasn't shot. And then, so we see the guys, and they have giant holes ripped out of their body. Like they've just been, like a hole punch went She's from the station. She's made a contract with the stationary devil, and so now she just uses the power of stationary to kill people. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I think it was an illusion. I think that the image they saw, they thought they were shooting her, but it was not, and it was all in their head. Because when she comes off, she's like, "This blood's not mine. I wasn't shot." So yeah, it was all an illusion. She says that she was not shot. Well, that's nice. And she just hole punched her way through them. Okay. So then we go back, and Makima does not seem worried. They're like, we don't have a lot of reliable information. They're still confirming casualties. And Makima's just walking like, she's like, should we head back to Tokyo as backup right now? She's like, we won't make it in time if we do. So they're in Kyoto. Okay, which was where her meeting was supposed to be. This episode's called From Kyoto. So, which is from Kyoto with love from Makima, clearly. But she establishes with them, she's like, okay. She's like, if we tried to leave now to go to Tokyo, we'd never make it in time. We'd waste all this time and not make it. So we need to take action from here. The enemy's after Denji-kun, as she says. So I'll do what I can from here. And they're like, I need 30 convicts with life sentences or worse. Interesting. Okay. So here's the conditions. The conditions of her contract. Now, here's the thing. Aki, as we've established, you can have contracts with multiple devils. Aki has the one with the cursed devil and the one with the fox devil. So even if by some chance, if Christopher Peterson was like, is the fox devil dead? Even if the fox devil is dead, he still has the contract with the cursed devil, which kind of sucks because it's gonna keep taking life from him the more he uses it, but he still has it. I would not be surprised if Makima was housing multiple devils with inside of her. She had multiple contracts, but I think she is just a devil herself. She's just a fiend. But the conditions of her contract, she wants 30 death row inmates. We're gonna get all Death Note like Yagami on this in about 2 seconds, right? I need 30 convicts with life sentences or worse from the Ministry of Justice. And Tendo, find the temple with the highest altitude and reserve it. And so you need a high altitude temple. So there's something religious or spiritual up in this business for this seance that she's about to do. And she's like, I need a temple with the highest altitude and go find it and reserve it. And get me some spare clothes while we're at it. So yeah, the thing of it is, and then they feed them, right? There's boxes of food for these inmates. They're traveling there and they're just eating all this food. Interesting. Like they're just sitting there. They have boxes of food for them to eat. So like they're fattening up lambs for the slaughter, right? So it's like food given to the 30 men. Yeah, it's like they're fattening up a lamb for the slaughter. And then they make it to the temple, and she has to put on the neat clothes, and everything has to be pressed and prim and proper. She has to tuck everything in as normal, and it almost looked like when she leaned over and had her arm like this, it almost looked like something was crawling out of her back, and I think that's intentional. I think it's to make her look, because we never see her face throughout this entire point where she's getting ready. I think she's supposed to look inhuman. It's kind of creepy. But yeah, and so they say that everything is ready to go. And she's like, I'll be right there. So then then all the inmates come out and they see the temple shrine and everything. And meanwhile, Sawatari and them are getting ready to take Denji away to the gun devil, presumably, where the one blade devil's like, I'm not going to be able to do anything for a while. And she's still looking at her nails. She's still looking at, which I don't blame her. I'd be like, ugh. And so that one guy's trying to give me a hand. He's so heavy. Come on, hurry up. And the guy's like, well, how in the world are we supposed to do this? Because he doesn't have a bottom half. Like, how am I supposed to grab him? He's like, how is this supposed to work? And then this one guy seems very self-aware. He seems almost clairvoyant, right? Where he sees it coming. He sensed it, right? He sensed something was up. And it's the bird landing on the roof. Like a messenger, right? Like a messenger. So, okay. When the bird appears, the ravens or the crows, the raven or the crow appears like a bad omen to signify that something is about to go down. What the fudge? Because, yeah, the crow shows up and and this guy senses something's wrong. And the moment he started freaking out, I was like, nope, something bad's about to happen. So when I said, like, she's going to have a sacrifice, I'm like, no, something bad's about to happen. Not good. And he's like, come on already. He's like, he's like, something's up. What the hell is happening? Like, he sensed it coming. And then they're all like, oh, something is weird. And then he just explodes. And she's like, Team E, have Team C verify Makima's body. And they're like, Team E is here. Team C hasn't been in contact. And then he explodes, right? And she's like, well, shit. Like, yep, this is bad. And she says, that bitch! And then we see the raven fly and its wings like fan out. Oh! As the crow flies. Oh my god. So then back up to the temple. This is interesting. They have everyone blindfolded. Everyone is blindfolded there. And the birds come back. Oh, the two ravens came back that were gone. And all of the men are blindfolded. And in these white robes. And then the two are standing there blindfolded as well. Okay. And she's just like, hey, what's up? And so then Kurose says, why are we blindfolded? And she says, Miss Makima reports to the chief cabinet secretary. And rank and file devil hunters like us don't have clearance to know about her devil contracts. No, I think that just nobody can see it. No, it's kind of like Kobeni's. No one is allowed to know about it. So I feel like no one can see the contract. Which is curious because I've said this entire season, like, there's a big thing with Makima and her eyes. Her eyes are such a big focal point in this series. Like in the OP, she does the thing with that. Like, she's looking at something. There's definitely a connection between her eyes and the contract. It's like a target, right? It's interesting. And, okay, I was confused during the reaction. So if you wondered why I was like, oh, the thing of it is, I thought when she said, say the name, I read it as Makima, not Mishima. So during the reaction, I was like, oh, when they say her name, she can control them or do something through them. And maybe they took the place of someone else. No, she said, say the name of this person, and that's the person I'm going to kill using you. So it almost like she uses them as a conduit. Once they say the name, she can control them, and she takes their life to mold it in her own and inflict that pain. Kind of like a voodoo doll, sort of. Sort of like a voodoo doll, only it's like spiritual voodoo, where she takes the name, they have to say the name, and then she takes their life and uses it to crush that person that they said. Kind of like a vendetta, sort of. So it's interesting. It's like the person says the name, right? So it's almost like the person says the name, and then that individual can get killed by Makima. Okay, or like it's almost like a deity. She's like molding them, right? It's like somebody with Play-Doh just like wrecking it, right? It's creepy. It's very creepy. It reminds me a lot of Death Note. It's very Death Note vibes. Like, once you say their name and you know their name, it's like she can control it. It's like saying their name. She takes your life and uses it to be able to do what she wants to with that person that you said. Okay, we'll go with that. But it has to be done in this very ritualistic way. It's very interesting. Because he says the name. And then she smiles. Yeah, okay. And then she stands in front of him, takes her hand, and she's like, here you go. And she just like crunches them together. Yep. And like, oh, it's so grisly. It's so grisly. And then that guy noticed too. He noticed that he was being controlled by her. Oh my god. Yep. And they're like, well, shit. She's gonna kill all of us. She does not kill... she does not kill Sawatari or the other guy. I'm saying... The big question is, how did she know the names of those guys, but not the names of Sawatari or the other one? That's the question, right? Why didn't she kill them? Why didn't she kill them? Did she not know their names? Then how did she know the names of the other ones? So there's some mystery there. We don't know how she knew the names of all the other guys, but not Sawatari and the Blade Devil. Or did she want Sawatari and the Blade Devil to get away? We don't know. Did she want them to get away? If that's the case, why did she want them to get away? So there's lots of questions with Makima and her motivations and decisions. She wanted to save Denji and get him to run off, but how did she... Is she able to see through the birds as well? Did she have a contract with the Crow Devil and it lets her see, and so she was like gonna let them get away? But why would she want them to get away? There's you almost need conspiracy board somehow out here to be like, now wait a minute. So there's a lot of mystery with Makima in this episode that comes out, and I'm like, I'm all here for it. I want to know it. Please tell me more. But yeah, and then again, when she crouches down, we see from earlier, because we saw back when Denji and Power like stopped the testicle devil, what simple times they were. She was crouched down. We saw her from the backside, and here we see it again. Only this time, she looks quite frightful, and she says, say the name Takashi Inoue. And he says it, and she smiles again. She just kills all of these people, right? And all these guys finally catch a hint, and they all start running. But it's like, you can't run from that. She's just gonna kill you. Yeah, and they all just explode! Damn it! And then I like the idea that the gun hits the ground too, right? Oh, she like just grinds them. And with the gun, here's the thing, and that shot of her eyes. Oh my god. Yep. And then he asks for help instead. Okay, so here's the thing. I know a lot of people have been like, oh, Makima, why would you think she's a villainess? Why would you think she's villainous? I mean, as if this creepy montage and this sacrifice, which you could argue that you're like, oh, that's to save Denji and the others. Totally cool. She just literally ground her enemies until they burst. It's fine. But I'm gonna put 3 things up here. They have some similarities. Just want to point it out that you have, remember we talked a few episodes ago about how Akutami and Horikoshi and Fujimoto are kind of buddies. They're kind of friends. Remember that? So, Horikoshi, he does My Hero Academia. He has this character called Shigaraki who has a lot of, usually has like a hand motif associated with them. And with those hands, they destroy things. It's kind of just a thing. They just completely decay them and transform them into nothingness and kill everything with them. It's a thing. And then you have Akutami from Jujutsu Kaisen, who has this character called Mahito, and they kind of use their hands to completely transfigure and destroy things as well, anything that they touch. It's a thing. And then in this one, you have Makima, who uses her hands to disfigure and destroy everything that she is touching with them. And so, in these 2 series, these are villains. Those are villains. So, yeah, there's a distinction. The whole time they're in the reaction, when she was doing the thing with her hand, I'm like, all I could think of was the episode Jujutsu Kaisen, where it's the embodiment of self-perfection, and it's just hand upon hand upon hand. And I'm like, no. I was like, Shigaraki, Mahito, Makima, they all use their hands to destroy things. And those 2 are villains, like the main villains. So my theory is that she is a villain. But she's secret. She is the secret bitch, is Makima. Himeno was right. Maybe she does care for Denji. Maybe she has found Denji endearing and she wants to make him her little puppy dog that she carries around with her. Maybe this is a damn 3-way love triangle and it's Makima, Denji, and the Gun Devil. I've cracked the code. No, I've not. But I just, the whole time during the episode when she's doing this crazy stuff with her hands, I'm like, wow, if that's not like Shigaraki and Mahito, I don't know what is. So we'll see. We'll see. But I was just like, nope, that seems awfully on the nose. And I loved, again, the idea of the blood washing over the gun, right? So maybe it is a three-way love triangle between Denji, the Gun Devil, and Pochita. And Pochita's like, and Pochita and Denji are like, wait, it's a love square. It's become a love square. It's Makima is with Denji, and then Pochita's stuck in there too, and there's the Gun Devil. Maybe the Gun Devil and Makima had a thing once, but now Pochita's involved. I don't know. I'm here for it. But her ability is absolutely terrifying. And and then Denji's just stuck there while all these other people are just like bloody pulps on the ground, like bloody splats, right? And they're like, ah, I love Sawatari, and the Blade Devil's face like, well, shit, what we gonna do now, right? Oh my God. They're like, well, what do we do? It's over. Yeah, it's like Sarabi from The Lion King. It's over. There's nothing left. And then she's killed all the guys. I thought, for a hot second, I thought she was going to kill these two. I thought Makima was going to kill Tendo and Kurose to kill Sawatari and the Blade Devil. I thought that's what was going to happen. I thought she was going to make them talk, but she didn't. But for a hot second, I was like, is she going to kill those other two? Because they're blindfolded. Is she going to do it? I thought that was going to happen, but she didn't. Instead, they take the blindfold off. And she looks absolutely terrifying. When she looks back over her shoulder, she's like, she looks terrifying. That is not a wholesome, happy face. Hell no. Oh my God. And she goes, that's all that can be done from here. Sorry. She's like, I've done all I can. So she's like, I had my 30 people. She's like, I need to get back to Tokyo. Gotta go check on Denji-kun. It's just the idea, and they were all in white. So yeah, it was literally sacrificing lambs to kill others. Like, it's trading lives out, right? What I find interesting about it is that when she killed the convicts, she asked them to say the name, and she took their life, but their bodies were not crushed into a pulp and gone. No, theirs just collapsed, like just poop, and that was it. And instead, she used that to grind the others up. Now, that comment she said, the dining in Tokyo is to die for. If she's a devil, was she just like consuming the souls of those people, and that's like her dining out? I don't know. I think she's a fiend. I think Makima is either a devil herself or a full blown devil or a full blown fiend. And that's a fiend would make the most sense because she has like a human body, but with a devil that has taken it over. Those are just my thoughts, though. And then so the thing about it is they have a van show up, and then they thought that they killed her, but no. And so I like Sawatari. I love that when she looks over from the van and sees it, like the expression of her, like with her hand up against the van, and her just like looking over there. Really good animation. And then the Blade Devil, he goes to take Denji, and that's when he looks to see what she's looking at. And he sees, for a second, I thought it was Makima. For a hot second, I thought she'd like just teleported to Tokyo. I was like, you said that was going to be a trouble to get there, but no. And then as soon as you saw the knife, it was Kobeni with the knife. Oh my God. And poor Arai sacrificing himself for her. Oh, it's absolutely heartbreaking. Because Kobeni being scared this whole time. What's curious is she didn't use her power against the Eternity Devil. So, but she had the knife, and she was like, you two. She said, you two are with the shooters, aren't you? Like, she's just there being like, I'm going to kill you now. That's okay. Sorry. She reminds me a lot. I'm watching Kuroko no Basketball right now. I'm watching Kuroko's basketball. She reminds me of the best crossover pairing would be her and Sakurai from Kuroko, because Sakurai and Kuroko is always like, I'm sorry. And she's just like, I'm sorry, I've got to kill you now. But yeah. And that's when she says snake, and she says tail. like to use the tail of the snake to go after her. And she just freaking goes. So the question is, why didn't she... And because, yeah, she dodges it, chops his arm off, and then grabs the gun, and doesn't even look to shoot him, grabs the gun, like she can see what to do. Like she has this enhanced spider sense. She can see what to do next. Maybe it's the spider devil. No. And then she goes to grab the gun too, but she dodges it like she could see what was going to happen. Okay. Yeah, she dodges it and grabs Denji and uses him as a shield. Like, I'll use him if I'm going to use him as a shield if you don't get back. She doesn't try to kill him, though. Interesting. Okay, and she shoots too, and she just dodges with it. All right. And she shoots then, like, shoots through the glass and everything. I thought she was going to kill Sawatari for a second, but she doesn't. That shot of her with the gun, though. Oh, my God, Kobeni. That might be the thumbnail might be Kobeni. As crazy as Makima is in this episode, as batshit as Makima is, the thumbnail might be Kobeni. It might be. I don't know. I can't decide. Might ask the Discord which one it should be. And then she's just sitting there, Denji. She walks away and she's like, sorry that I nearly killed you the other day. Sorry I tried to kill you. The crazy thing is, what's interesting about Kobeni is she could have killed Denji, I think, in the hotel. I think she was too freaked out. Here, she has kind of a sense of purpose that's driven to her because of Arai's death. But there was something up with the Eternity Devil that kept her from being able... Well, because here's the thing. The Eternity Devil got bigger the more you slashed at it. Kobeni is still human. She's just under a contract. So, unlike Denji, who has the chainsaws inside him, and he's like pretty much a devil himself, she is not. So, in her case, even though... So, the funny thing about her situation is that even though she has this incredible power through the contract, she's still limited by the fact that she's immortal, that she's amortal. So if the Eternity Devil had actually ended hit on her, the contract wouldn't have mattered. It still would have killed her. So that is a limitation, and it does make sense why she wasn't able to do much more during the Eternity Devil arc, because that thing was like a large-scale attack. It wasn't close combat. She's a close combat person, not a large, wide-range melee fighter. That's not her style at all. So it makes sense why she was no good against the Eternity Devil, is what I'm trying to say. Interesting. And yeah, her saying that she was sorry. I hope she goes back and gets Aki. I really do. And she's like, this is bad. I'm freaking out. As if she wasn't already. And then it just shows her getting it and killing the guy. And she's like, I'm just... And then this line... She says that I'm afraid. She's like, I can't do it. This job is going to drive me nuts. As if she wasn't already. As if she wasn't crazy before. She's got some screws loose. Himeno was very correct when she said, nah, she's got it. She's crazy. Kobeni is crazy, and that's why she's got potential. So then we have this last scene where this guy shows up covered in blood, right? And I like that it's Madoka. And I like that Makima's like, I'm glad to see you're alive. Like, hi, friend. Like, and here's the other thing. As crazy as the events of this episode are, the world that this is taking place in, I'm sure it's a commentary on how we're desensitized to violence and we don't take notice of it. Nobody really even notices the guy Madoka covered in blood. There's a few people that go, oh, and they kind of like go to the side. But for the most part, everybody just keeps walking. There are people that ran out of the train. They didn't call the authorities. They didn't do anything. They just ran away and were like, ah. And the other people, like, there's people exploding everywhere. And there's not mass hysteria. It's just in this world of devils and all this violence, it's just another day. And I'm sure Fujimoto is making a commentary about that we get desensitized to violence and we normalize it. So I'm sure that that's a commentary that they're making, but it's so bizarre, right? When you see it in this extreme of a context, it's kind of insane. And she's like, I'm glad to see you're alive. How much of the special division survived? And he says, they all came under assault, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And he says, just about everyone's dead except for the non-humans. So just about, not everybody. So Aki and Kobeni might still be alive. I hope Kobeni sticks around. And I hope she sticks around. And I hope that she stays with Aki's crew too. Because I hope Denji and her can become friends. Because Kobeni and Denji, like I said a few episodes ago, they're actually a lot alike. And I want Denji and Kobeni to become pals. Because I think that'd be good for her. She's like, an assault with guns targeting the special divisions. The gun devil must be involved. Yeah, looking for Denji, of course. And he said, I also got a message from above. And you can tell his glasses are fogged over, meaning that we can't see what he's really thinking. He says, due to the personnel shortage, all the divisions are going to be absorbed together into the 4th one. As of now, Public Safety Devil Extermination Special Division 4 will be under your command, Makima. Oh, wow. Oh, no. Oh, she's going to be in charge of the whole thing. What? So she is going to be in charge of the division. That's a promotion if I've ever heard one. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Not good vibes. And I love that. And of course, Tendo and Kurose are like, we're all going to be in a division under her orders. And Makima's like, oh, man, if nobody else will do it, I guess I'll do it. I'm like, sure thing. She just seems so emotionless there. And that's when Makoto says, I'm going to hand in my letter of resignation. Like, I'm leaving. I'm going to the private sector. And she's like, you're quitting. You're quitting? Why would you quit? The fun's just getting started. And he's like, and he says the special division seems like bad news at this point. As if it wasn't already. He says it's a bad news. I figure the choice is between quitting or getting killed. And she's like, oh, I see. And you see through his glasses him looking at her. And he just looks at her like he looks so dead inside, and she just turns and leaves. She's like, I see. And then he says, how much of this did you anticipate? Like, how much did you know this was going to happen so that you could get to be in charge of it all? And I love her line back to him. She's like, I'm sorry. We don't share that information with civilians. I'm like, dude, you should have asked her that before you put in your resignation. Lesson learned. She treats it very seriously. Oh my God. And so I like the other two are like, and I also like that he has purple eyes and she has yellowish brown eyes, like Hazel, like they kind of match. And they're like, oh, well, we're not really joining your division, right? We're just here to train. She says, we're not really joining the special division, right? Yeah, we're just helping with training. Training for what? So we don't know what that's all about. She's like, we're just helping with training, okay? And she's like, ignore. And in a week, we'll be headed back to Kyoto. And the way that she turns her head there, her skin is so pale. She almost looks like a vampire. She's like, that's a shame. The dining in Tokyo is to die for. Oh my God. Yep. She's a devil. Fully convinced. Now the question is whether Tendo and Kurose are going to stay with our group. I'm going to imagine that Suda's still alive, Suda's character, because we don't get introduced to a character like him and then him disappear and not ever show up again. Nah, he's going to be there. And I feel like what they're setting up with Suda's character is that he'll have to have a one-on-one talk with Aki now that Himeno's dead. They need to talk about that. I think Aki's alive. The question is how, and hopefully Power comes back to help. But Makima, this all just conveniently worked out in her favor. She got to save Denji, keep him safe. She got a promotion, and she got to head up the special division that she created. Look at her. Look at her being business savvy. I don't know. Sawatari and the Blade Devil have lived to fight another day, but his hand's gone. Maybe Kobeni will be able to take the hand and they can get some data off of it. That'd be kind of cool. I also like the idea and the concept that the Blade Devil lost one of his arms, and that was what was left of the Ghost Devil was its arm. I thought that was pretty cool. I'm assuming the Ghost Devil's dead, or I didn't know if the Ghost Devil, after it revved the chainsaw up, if it ran off to go find a new host. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe its heart was in its hand and not the head. I don't know, because the head kind of disappeared into smoke whenever it got lobbed off by a heavy. So yeah, many unanswered questions, and we still have 3 episodes left. But the good news is that Denji is... Here's the thing. The good news is that Denji, who's been sawed in half by a literal blade devil, and Aki, who's been stabbed in the chest and just lost his partner, Fujimoto, who dissolved into nothingness after sacrificing herself to give to her devil to try to save the man she loved, they're fine. That's fine in Fujimoto's book. That's okay. They're doing great in comparison. Oh my god. This episode was absolutely bonkers, and I was amazed and enjoyed every minute of it except for the blood splatters. And now I'm really, really hyped for the next episode. It's so crazy how you can go from one high to another. Last episode was like dipping down on the road. It was like you're on the roller coaster and you go like to the bottom of the roller coaster hill and you're like, oh, that sucked so much. But now this was the leap back up to the highest elevation, to the temple at the highest altitude. I know it's killing you manga readers not to spoil me, but I thank you so much for not spoiling me, because this episode was amazing. I'm glad you didn't spoil me about Kobeni. I know I have my theories about Makima and Kobeni. Please no spoilers, hints, or clues, and I'm sure we'll find out at least something, perhaps, in the next 3 episodes. So, I do hope you enjoyed this reaction and discussion. I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah! I'll be back next week with episode 10 of Chainsaw Man. Bye.